great things today from all the speakers. I'm not going to use Medable as the case study of what we've been doing, but rather some of my past experiences. So I've been on product side with Scrum teams. So I've run development, did marketing into healthcare, sold into healthcare. So seeing the span there, I've picked up on themes and principles that are pretty important that I think we can take away. But before that, anybody with a new role, new job, new company in the past year, please raise your hand, or worked with a new sales leader, product person, CEO. So pretty much everybody, maybe minus 10%, another person there. Or maybe a new M&A, right? So we talked about that a little bit earlier. I believe in principles. I think we as humans believe in principles. There's the golden rule. I flew in from Jacksonville yesterday. The middle seat person didn't believe in the golden rule. They were in my seat. I had a window seat. But why is it that marketing can't center on principles? You know, accounting has generally accepted accounting principles. No matter what company you go to, public company, they're pretty much the same. Scrum and Agile are built on principles. Lean manufacturing, all these people have deliverables that they give to a client or some other internal stakeholder. So everybody just raised their hand pretty much. I'm going to say 10% didn't, but 90% in last year. So that means we have a turnover of about every 14 months within product marketing, within those stakeholders. So once you build your perfect 30 slide go-to-market plan, all your planning, you planned it out 3 years, you have the strategy, general manager, CEO, depending on the size of the company, good to go, sales leader, good, marketing's good, CMO's good, product team's good, but then your sales leader goes to the competitor. Next, your CMO leaves. This happened to me when I worked at IBM. CMO made an off-color remark, HR had to get involved. So then they bring in a social guru. They change out your vendors. This goes on and on and on. So GM gets fired for 4 years, 4 months, 4 quarters of flat growth. So building a perfect plan and not really adapting to it based on tactics and a strategy that one sales leader had, but now a new sales leader doesn't have, isn't sustainable. You can't really judge your marketing health, your program, or if you're actually delivering on the product lines. So again, this goes on and on. So what I would say is we need to follow core principles, and everything that pretty much a lot of people are talking to today can roll into these. So, this can be as an individual contributor. This can be if you're a VP of product marketing. We can all kind of start trending towards this way. And the reason why is things change. I just highlighted people change within an organization. We proved it here with raising our hands, but processes change. GDPR. You might have a new CMO or product person that says, we need to be digital first. The gentleman before me had a lot of video. Maybe before that say, we don't want to do video. Now it's all going to be interactive. So there are processes that will change. So our marketing strategies change. Metrics change. You start as a startup, as you start growing market share, now maybe customer acquisition isn't an issue. Now it's about churn, so renewals. So how do you build upon principles that over the life of the product lines or the life of the company you can actually start gauging, are you a C grade marketing organization? Are you an A+? And start understanding that. I know no one's had this one, short-term goals chasing the quarter. I know no one has ever had a situation where the sales and GM are like, you know what? I don't have a job next month if we don't make our revenue goal. So whatever we're doing, we're going to reallocate everything to that. So the idea is things change. If we're not following kind of this overarching, we want to go up to the right, our marketing looks kind of like diet yo-yo or yo-yo dieting. Do really good at the start of the year, and then we kind of plateau. Maybe we hit a vacation. I don't need, my wedding's no longer here. I'm going to go down. There's a lot of variability. But when we follow principles and every day we just move a little bit closer towards the right direction, I think we all kind of will align on then, we're doing the best for the growth of the company. I forget the guy that said it earlier, but revenue is our number one goal. So unless we're following these principles, we're never going to truly unleash the growth for revenue. So move a little bit of dirt every day. I take this from a podcast I learned. Essentially, there's a big pile of dirt over there, and you want to move it over here. Someday you're going to get a spoon. Another day you're going to get a shovel. And the third day you're going to get a wheelbarrow. But the idea is you kind of continually bring the dirt over to the right side or the left side. So I'm going to propose 4 principles. I'm biased. I'm very biased. One thing I really like about so far about this conference is there's been a lot of B2B bias. A lot of other marketing conferences have been very B2C oriented, but I've seen a lot of B2B. So I'm a B2B marketer. I'm a B2B SaaS marketer. I'm a B2B SaaS marketer in healthcare. So my biases fit my perspective, my lens, my understanding of life and our sales cycle. Our sales cycle is 18 months long. We're in 8 and 9 figure deals. It's not going to be what the Fitbit guy said about the consumer side. So it's a little bit different. So just understand that I'm biased. If you don't agree with some of them, that's okay. I think the principles will relate to everything. But before that, we got to talk about metrics. So I propose simple grading. We've all done this for about 20 years of our life, from kindergarten to advanced education. A, B, C, D, E, F. That's really all it is. So what this, you can see the principles here. You got product, process, people. And at the end of the day, once you grade it and score it and get all together, you get your overall performance. So what this allows you to do is wherever you're at, whether you're just starting out for customer acquisition or into that renewal, you can place importance, so credit hours, on how important that is to you. I'm in a startup. We have 2 marketers. Trying to get really good processes right now with the perfect marketing automation stack, CRM integration, we're still training our sales force, has really no importance to us right now. It shouldn't. We're still working through the sales process, but it's very important that we get the products, the messaging, the positioning, very sound. So these aren't the grades I'm giving my company, but I'm just hypothetically. And so whatever level you're at, whether you're an analyst, a manager, VP, or CMO, or a CEO, you can kind of establish these credits. And the other thing it allows you to do long-term is as your marketing organization grows, your credit grows. So your capacity or your throughput. So you just basically get more applications. And this is really where it comes down to. Someone said it earlier. It's not just about having the plan, it's actually delivering on the plan. So we're going to talk about the practice of the principles. I think we can all agree that those principles are kind of like normal. So first one is positioning. Everybody's probably rolling their eyes. I've been here for 10 minutes listening to you. I don't need to be told about positioning. I've heard it over and over again. But if we all would agree that positioning is table stakes, then why don't we do it? So I just did a quick glance at a proposal software industry. I love 1 and 2 of competitors. Proposals in minutes, branded proposals in minutes. Close deals faster, close sales faster. Their number 1 competitor is DocuSign. They spend $500 million in marketing, 147 marketers. And you're going to position as a brand new, and I'm not picking on these guys, but if we all are so agreed that positioning and messaging and branding is so important, then why aren't we doing it with the number 1 tagline on these people's websites? So we say it's important, but we don't do it. So how do we start applying it? It's not the 30 slide deck presentation I was mentioning earlier. It's not saying US has 50% market share and Europe's 30, these demographics, blah, blah, blah. It's more about getting into how do we apply this? Well, we don't apply it by listening to Abraham Lincoln, who said he wanted a technology solution, not just a solution, but a tech solution, reduces implementation and his TCO by 50%. But this is how we market. We market because this is how we build our methodology. We build it as an MBA use case. We build it as a market sizing program. You want my product because this is how we built it in Jira, and this is that. Well, really no one said that ever. What they really want is you to empathize. The guy said it before me before, and the lady before him, it's stories. So Seth, I don't know Seth personally. I found his email address. I said, hey, I'm speaking on principles. What do you think is the number 1 principle? I think everybody knows Seth Godin is very reputable in this space. He didn't even capitalize his word, but he did reply back to me. So tell true stories that resonate with the smallest viable audience. So in positioning, I then texted 25 of my old colleagues, what's the number 1 principle? They all said positioning. But if you ask the same 25, their definition of positioning is different. Some say branding, some say essence, customer engagement, whatever it might be. But if you think about it, his 10 words here, tell true stories. So messaging, that's the story. Smallest viable audience, that's segmentation, targeting. So all the academic work that you do to go through the process and working with sales doesn't really matter if you can't actually apply it and measure that you're delivering on this. So what I would say is the principle is product. This is the thing that product marketers are responsible for. If a manufacturer has to deliver a widget, we have to deliver positioning. That is our deliverable, just like finance gives an income statement. Product teams deliver a SaaS solution. Our product to our organization is positioning. The application, and this is just my opinion right now and where we're at in my life cycle, but your company might be different, your department might be different, but how I would apply that is customer segmentation, and then do you have the appropriate content for that segment? We all know the segmentations. We can go into Tableau or ClickView, slice and dice it. Here's the 50 cohorts. But it really doesn't help if you don't have content to move them along in the buying process. It doesn't really help to have that knowledge. And it doesn't matter what stage, if you want to do the 3-stage process or kind of like a follow-on nurture. If you don't have the appropriate content, then you're not really practicing that principle. You know it, we know it academically, and I apologize for saying you, but I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I think it's something we can all just relate to as product marketers. So next thing is process. I like to use working out as an example because we probably all try to work out once in our life and failed miserably without good coaching. But one thing people think is if you want to run faster, you just got to run harder, you got to run more. But maybe there's a technique issue. Maybe you're not running fast enough initially or whatever it might be. But just ignoring a problem, ignoring a weakness isn't really going to help the overall program. It's not going to help your fitness. And so, but we do this all the time. Sales are down. Let's hire more salespeople. We're not getting the impressions we want. Let's fire up more money into the media spend. We're not converting. We need to build the red button blue now in the product, whatever it might be. And so I believe our job as product marketers is diagnosing, just like a doctor does with your disease. Now, you can pick whatever framework here. We've seen these earlier this morning. You got the pipeline. I've worked for 4 different organizations in the past 5 years. Everybody had a different pipeline, and it changes about every year anyway when there's a new sales leader or new finance person. So pick whichever framework you want. Pragmatic marketing framework's a pretty credible process of launching products to market. We saw the Venn diagram earlier. But our job is to start getting the synergies between all the organizations, internal organizations. If marketing's not pulling their weight, then there's nothing that product and sales can really do, and vice versa. So it's our job to diagnose and help do that. How that looks, people were talking about going earlier, hitting the field, going in sales calls, going with customers, following along with the product manager. This is the stuff that you'll hear. We need a user group. I can't believe we had no plan for release 2.31. Marketing says I had no idea we had release 2.31 coming out. And then I love this one. This one happens all the time. It took 20 days for sales to follow up on a web lead. Sales says the leads are bad. Then they also say I need more leads. And my favorite, if I only had a brochure for the new AI blockchain augmented reality use case, I could have closed that deal. So no one's wrong in this aspect. No one's right either. But it's our job to just like a doctor would with a patient, tell me how you feel. There's no right or wrong answer. You're trying to get to the truth of things. So it's our job to understand the process, diagnose, and start working through cross functions and cross collaboration with our stakeholders. So I'll use an example of the process. We'll talk about vendor optimization. In other industries outside of marketing that are more tangible, they call it the supply chain. So I have a buddy who works for GE. If a supplier doesn't deliver metal at a certain time, they fire that supplier. But we don't do that in marketing. We just keep letting our agencies and our vendors get away with murder all the time. So let's assume that we delivered the AI blockchain augmented reality. That is truly the reason why the salesperson didn't close it. Maybe, though, there are other reasons, but we won't entertain them, such as maybe the product's still in research. Maybe finance wants them to focus on a core positioning versus selling the future and then upselling. But let's say the strategy was to sell this, but they didn't have the one brochure at the one conference to get this deal. So maybe the agency has a slow creative process, multiple revisions, even though they've worked with you for 2 years and understand your customer and your branding, they still can't get it right. And they're super expensive, so you didn't really want to waste them on a one-pager. Well, we live in an era where $5 hour wages, You can go to not maybe this event, but other events where there's thousands of agencies wanting your business. So if you're not in the process of always optimizing your vendors and getting the most out of them, it's pretty much table stakes as a product marketer. Maybe that's more of a marketing automation or operations person in your business. But the idea though, don't take vendor optimization as the end all be all. Take it as like analyzing the process. We didn't get something out for sales and there's a root cause to it. So in this instance, process is a principle. Gap analysis, operations, diagnosis of the overall ecosystem. So the way I would apply it, again, you pick your own application, which you think was most appropriate, your sales cycle, your product, your customer segment. Time to lead qualification. Remember I said sales didn't follow up for 20 days. And then vendor optimization. At the end of the day, you just put a grade there. It's not, you don't have to have a rubric, an A+ is this, and a B is that, and a C is that. I think we know conceptually where we stand in the quality of our output. And maybe being a C person isn't a bad thing. We all have different HR policies where some companies are okay hiring C-level marketers or salespeople, but they want to pay A+ developers. So you know kind of what your talent pool is, you know your industry, where you spend money. You don't have to nuke out the right side of the grading. It's more about, are we overall trending towards that direction? The last thing is people. So process, product doesn't happen without people, but I want to relate this to how marketing, and one of the problems I've seen through a lot of different organizations is, I'll first start with Elon Musk. I love Elon Musk. I don't agree with his maybe leadership style, just as someone didn't agree with Bezos, but you can't discredit his success. So he had an employee said no to him, basically. He said, fine, I'll run SpaceX and Tesla and do your project, and I'll still deliver. And he still did. And so my thought here is, why is it that marketing, the more senior you get, the farther you get away from the customer, product, and sales team? Engineers still understand Bernoulli's principle. Developers still code. They're still architecting real solutions. Sales execs, I don't know a single one that's still not closing deals or not a personal relationship with major accounts. But we don't do this. So how do we grade it? Again, right, it's into A, B, C. Can everybody in your marketing, sales, product organization pitch the product? Can they demo it? Can your product, if you have a team of product marketers, can they all train sales? Or does sales kind of behind your back, if you're a VP or director and you got some junior folks here, does a sales leader come to you and say, don't let them talk to my sales team again? I'm sure we all had those conversations. So how do you understand that your people are actually doing it? Could they run the roadmap? Do they know the roadmap? Are they responsible for the roadmap? And then I like the third one, build and run a campaign, because all these things force you to do all the little things that are preambles to that. So if you can pitch your products, that means you know your customer. So it forces you to do the customer segmentation, understand the messaging and branding and positioning. The third one is more aimed at kind of senior leadership. Everybody has, they pick fruit from the fruit of the good idea tree, where they're like, we need to do digital and you need to go do this, but they don't even know how the marketing automation stack is. They don't realize that you don't have SDRs to do follow-up calls. And so until you actually continue to do marketing in your organization, you really don't have context. And so this is all code word and a different way to say leadership by example, cross-training, going out and seeing, going into the field, knowing, having context. There's a thing out there called T-shape now, so you're an inch wide, so you have understanding of different other functions, but you're a mile deep in your own specialty. So really you need to have this context. It's super important to have this context because it reminds me of a consultant the other day that came to my business. And before he even understood the product or the platform or customer segment or anything internal, he's like, you know what you need? I even forgot because I just lost interest. How can you recommend something and tell me what I need if you don't even understand what I have? And so this is the people aspect. If everybody in your marketing, product marketing organization can't do, and it doesn't have to be all three, pick what's important to you. If they're not doing these things, then they're not actually fully taking all that positioning and all the go-to-market strategy and delivering it to a customer. So at the end of the day, again, just grade yourself. And then when you add up all the grades and the credits, you're going to get a score. We're a B company. And then you take that. So quarter 1, we're B. Quarter 3, B. Next year, B. Is it bad to be a B all the time and not show growth? Well, no, because it's quite okay if you added 10 marketers, because now your capabilities have tripled in that aspect. So you're still maintaining B quality, but your output has 10-folded. Or if you just keep the same team and you're not adding people, then you should start seeing your grade creep up. It's just a simplistic way not to go into. Now, I think we all need to be responsible for the impressions and lead and a whole bunch of other metrics, but it really doesn't give you an understanding and a handoff in the kind of times we live with uncertainty. Because when your product moves out of that maturity phase, leads aren't going to be as important. It's about the customer acquisition. So how do you measure a program holistically? And I would argue it's just focusing on principles that are applicable to your business. So I'll just skip through. A lot of people are having these call to actions at their speakers as well. I will say, I am finishing early before lunch. But if you think, I used to be in the military, and I wish people thought, it used to be push-ups, sit-ups, just run, mile and a half. Didn't really teach you strength training. But if someone got me at 18 years of age and said, hey, all you got to do is gain 10 pounds on the squat, I'd be squatting 800 pounds today. And so it's a bad analogy, but the idea is don't think of just what your business needs today or what you need for your next promotion. I truly think marketing is a profession. And the reason why some of our pain points are that we have hey, can you build me another slide deck? I need another LinkedIn campaign. We do it to ourselves because we don't treat it as a profession. So think about long-term where you want to be, and it might be blending over to sales and blending over to product, but what are the 1 or 2 principles that apply to you and your industry? And that's the thing that you need to start trending towards as an individual, or if you're a VP, that your company needs to start trending towards too. Hard to say and do because we all have fire drills and we're all chasing the quarter, but that's my 2 cents on principle-based marketing, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, everybody. It's lunchtime. Come back at 1:30 sharp. I have a treat for you, and I want us to get out on time. See ya.